was telling my wife earlier, I was like, so I have this guy, Steve Gunter, on, super cool guy. He's a Cleveland Browns fan, though. So I was like, I don't know. I said, but actually, I like the Cleveland Browns because Ben Roethlisberger, well, Baker Mayfield took the title, but Ben Roethlisberger was the most winning quarterback at that stadium. So I was like, I got to like him a little bit.
That's good. That's real good. Man, Ben was... So I played against Ben.
Did you?
I played against Ben in college. And that dude was a dog. Like Ben Roethlisberger, first of all, he's big. But in terms of his arm, the size and the strength of Ben Roethlisberger, stupid, man. But he's a smart guy, too. Incredibly bright. He knows football.
Yeah.
And he could read defense as well. And that's really, that position, that's what you have to be able to do really well. You have to be able to see things. What's next? What's next before it happens?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Yeah, he was good.
You played safety?
I played DB.
Okay.
Corner.
Okay, you played corner at Indiana.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we'll touch on that a little bit, too.
Good.
But, all right, man. Well, let's roll, yeah?
Let's do it.
All right. I'm sitting here with Steve Gunter of the Steve Gunter Group. Welcome in, man. It's cool to see you.
Hey, it's good to be here, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Do you drink a lot of coffee?
I do, every day.
Every day? What's your brewing method? You can say K-Cups. It's okay. I don't want to judge you.
I don't have one other than my wife bought me, what is that called, a Ninja?
Oh, yeah.
So I use a Ninja.
Nice.
Yeah.
What kind of coffee are you drinking?
Right now, I'm drinking this Charleston brand. It's called a Charleston. It's Charleston.
Okay. I'll have to try it.
It's really good, though. Yeah, I like it. And I like Black Rifle.
Oh, yeah. I love Black Rifle. Yeah. Yep.
So
go ahead. We highlight, local coffee shops on the show. I think it'd be cool to have somebody like the Charleston or Black Rifle on or something like that. Yeah. We'll switch it up. Have you been to Sir Walter?
I haven't.
You haven't?
No.
Okay. So it's right in downtown Raleigh. Sir Walter Coffee. This bean is called Downtown Single. And I've been to Sir Walter many times. I've never had this bean. But if you were in the Raleigh area, be sure to stop by Sir Walter Coffee in downtown Raleigh and get their Downtown Single. At the end of the show, let me know what you think. We'll rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. And
I love it.
We'll take it from there. But
so far, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's very good. It's also hot in here, so
yeah,
it doesn't help.
It did. That's true.
All right, let's talk about your journey into where you are now. So where did this all begin?
2010. That's when I got into business. And at the time when I got into the business, I was also a Raleigh police officer at the same time. So I was doing both. And that was a hard life in of itself. But what was good about it was I was able to really connect with a lot of the police officers, nurses, teachers, and those were the people who trusted me from the beginning. Especially with cops, because cops, they don't trust anybody else but other cops. Usually that's the case. But it was good to have those relationships to help me start the business. Now, during that time, I didn't get much sleep. It was a lot of days of just grinding, man. Just getting up every morning, going to the police station, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. That was my shift. And then if I got off at 6 p.m., actually got off at 6 p.m., because sometimes you'll have easily a 16-hour shift. Like that's what happens in that world. But if I got off on time, then I would still have time to go and, show properties to people that I was working with. Now, when the schedule flipped to 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., which was brutal. I would get home, I would go to bed, I would wake up at about 11 o'clock a.m., and I would go into the real estate office, and I would, again, just grind away, looking for properties for clients I was working with, looking for open houses to do, just looking to do whatever I could to start to create some sort of momentum. Anyway, what ended up happening was year by year, and I only did it for about 2 years, I think, about just at 2 years. And by the time that 2 year period was up, I actually still wasn't ready to make the jump, but I had to do it anyway.
Wow. All right. So you're when you went to go be a cop, you started being a cop. Did you think you were going to go into real estate from that point, or did you go, I'm going to be a cop for the rest of my life? Oh, this is not something I want to do for the rest of my life. Let me go get my real estate license.
So, true story, man. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, to be honest
Okay.
with you. So, at that time, I was just trying to figure it out.
And how old were you?
I was, what, 24,
Okay.
24, 25, somewhere around there. And so I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with myself. I knew that I wanted to be in business, but I had no idea what business I wanted to go into. So I have friends who were in the insurance business. I have friends who were in the medical device business, doing all sorts of different things. And I'm just trying to figure it out. So here's what I did. I was working at Costco at the time, and I was working in the deli department. I was skewing chickens, making pizzas. I was pretty good at it too, but I was, just a guy trying to pay bills, trying to take care of a family, trying to figure out what am I going to do next. I want to be in business, but I don't know how to get there exactly. So anyway, I applied for the Raleigh Police Department, but I also applied for the Secret Service, and I applied for the CIA. I didn't even know you could apply for the CIA. So I went to the website, and, there's, at the time at least, there was, this button, apply, whatever. So I did. And anyway, I continued to work at Costco for almost another year before Raleigh Police Department got back to me. And simultaneously, the Secret Service got back to me in the same week. And so both jobs I was approved for. So I ended up not going to the Secret Service, obviously, because my wife and we were like, we don't want to live a life of bouncing around the world. And I went to the Raleigh Police Department. And during that time, it was still, I didn't know. I was just trying to figure it out while I was in the academy, got into training or in the field training. And finally, it dawned on me. I said, you know what? Maybe I should sell houses, because we're going to all of these people's houses. I'm like, maybe I should sell houses. So I'll go back and tell my wife, I say, Tammy, what you think about this? She's like, okay, you want to sell real estate? I said, I don't know. I think so. Anyway, it ends up working out. I get my license, and somehow I'm starting to make relationships with enough officers. They're like, yeah, dude, let's do it. Let's go out and, help me buy a house, help me sell my house. And it worked out.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's sweet.
Mm-hmm.
This whole hustle and grind that you had and obviously still have, where did that stem from?
My father, man.
What did he do?
So my dad, and still does, by the way, my father is, how old is my father? Mid-60s. My father has owned his own auto shop for years, for as long as I can remember. And, dad would get up in the morning. He would always, every morning, go out, work on cars. No, I got to get to work. I got to, make sure I get this job finished. I got this customer coming. They want, to pick up their car. I'm putting in a new transmission, all of these things. And that left an impression on me. As I grew up over the years, I've always admired my father's grit, his hard work. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. It's a blue collar town. The people there, they work hard, and and that's all they know. They know how to get up and go to work and grind. And my father was that way. And so I think that's where it came from for me. And I'm so grateful for it because even still today, where the business is today is certainly not where the business was when I first got started. But I still feel that same sense of urgency. I still feel that same sense of you got to get out there and work. You know, it doesn't matter what you did last year. It doesn't matter what you did last month. What matters is what you're going to do moving forward. And I really appreciate that. My dad is great.
Yeah. You gotta love a good dad in your
Mm-hmm,
life.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's super important. Um, so you get to be a cop and you get your real estate license. Did you think from the first, let's say, year of having your real estate license, okay, this is what I want to do?
Yes. So as soon as I started selling,
Huh.
I don't know what it was. I truly did feel, Ethan, that it was for me. I
How come?
well, I think part of it was I understood how to connect with people. And I think so much of what we do in the real estate business is about connecting with people and truly understanding what someone is feeling, what they're going through. You need to have a high level of empathy in this
Oh,
business.
yeah.
It goes a long way. And I always had that for whatever reason. It's just always had been a part of me. And so I had that. But then I learned to develop my communication skills to be able to speak towards certain issues related to, you know, the journey that people will go through as they were transacting on real estate. And somehow over the years, I developed or cultivated that ability. And it's funny because the way I cultivated it, Ethan, was literally just by practicing. Like, we had an empty room in our house, and I would go into that room and I would just say stuff over and over and over and over to myself, almost like a script.
Okay, so where did you get this stuff to say? Or was it just like you were just ad-libbing, like, oh, this might
So I
say that?
started out by, like what most people do. You look at all of these different people, these different trainers, and you're like, okay, they say this. And then I start saying that, and I'm like, that doesn't sound like me. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that. I would start to develop my own script, and I would say it and keep saying it until it was ingrained in my mind to the extent where it just flows. And one day, Tammy walks in on me, and I'm just going to town. Like I'm in a full blown conversation, like I'm with the client, and I'm going, right? And she like, who are you talking to? And have you ever been caught like saying or saying something and you're like you get startled, you're like, oh, and it's this look on your face. And I said, oh, hey honey. So I'm just practicing. I'm practicing trying to understand how to communicate better with the client. So it was also work, is what I'm saying. It wasn't just that I don't think I was just gifted. I think I think the only gift I probably had was my empathy. But other than that, I think everything else was, I had to work to cultivate the craft.
Yeah. 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 So before you got to Raleigh and you grew up in Cleveland, went to school at Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
played cornerback,
Yeah.
how was that experience? I'm a Big Ten fan. I'm a Penn State fan, so love Big Ten, and
Yeah.
I don't like Ohio State at all, but they like us because they beat us every year. But
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I learned a lot at Indiana.
yeah,
Jerry DiNardo was the head coach.
okay,
Jerry DiNardo was a tough guy. He was, today what we would call, a man's man,
yeah,
But what I remember, and it's funny because at the time I didn't like him. I was like, I don't like that dude, man. He's just like, I just don't, I did not like his approach. But as I've gotten older, I've appreciated it and I've gone back to those lessons. But to answer your question, what I learned at Indiana was you have to do the things well that require no talent. because it's those things that help you to excel. And he would preach that. That was his message. He would say, look, I don't care how talented you are. What I care about is whether or not you're perfecting the things that require no talent. Are you showing up on time? Are you getting that extra rep? Are you giving the effort out on the field? Are you shedding a block? Like, those things don't require talent. It just requires effort, technique, mental toughness. So he would be the person that would lean into those ideas.
Mm.
And that's what I learned from him. And I can remember one story in particular. This is pretty funny. We're in spring ball, Ethan. All right? We're in spring ball. I am working with the first team at this point. I'm playing corner, right? And so during those years, it was cool to have like your socks rolled all the way up, have some wristbands going down the arm. I would have my jersey tucked into my, underneath my shoulder pad. I had a towel swinging from my hip.
Tough.
Yeah. Oh, I was looking sharp, man, and I was ready to perform that day stylistically. So I'm out there on the field. First day of practice, by the way. First day of practice. The running back comes out of the backfield. He runs into the flats. The flats is the side of the field, and it's nearest me, the cornerback. The quarterback dumps the ball to the running back, right? We're in what we call shells, just shoulder pads and helmets. We don't have on our full pads on that day. So I'm thinking, all right, not a big deal. I'm going to come up and, I'm going to thud the guy up and, we done, And so the running back gets the ball and he's running. And I'm like, okay, he's kind of running at me, with like aggressively. And me, I'm like, I'm just running all cute, like, I got this like swing in my body and all of this stuff. And we meet, and dude, he runs me over. Ethan, I freaking flip back twice, roll on my butt, my back, my head, and then I roll again. Everybody's like, oh, right. And so Coach DiNardo, he yells at the defensive back coach, my direct coach, and he says, get him out of here, right? So he says, Gunter, you out of here. I said, okay. I'm thinking I'm going to be out of there for just, I don't know, a couple of plays, and then I'm going to get back out there. Dude, I was out of the first team for the entire spring ball.
No.
I was out of for the entire spring ball. And the reason was because I had to learn a lesson. What was that lesson? I chose style over substance. What the running back had was substance. What I had was just style. And I needed to lead according to having something inside, right? And I never forgot that lesson because, in this business, as an example, there's a lot of style. There's a lot of fashionable approaches to things. There's a lot of, look at me and all of those things. And it's the agents who have the substance that go far. And I had to adopt that sort of lesson, going back to what I learned at Indiana, to this business. And it has carried me a very long way.
What is the substance that a good real estate agent should have?
First and foremost, relationships. I think what we miss a lot of times is that is what leads us to success. In fact, that is the highest leveraging tool is the relationship. We're usually pretty caught up on tactics, direct mail marketing, Google ads, Facebook, all of this stuff that's more tactical approaches. But what we're doing right now, Ethan, is relational,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're having a conversation. We're we're filtering it down to the basic element of what connects with people. Well, if you have a connection with me, that means I likely have a relationship with you. So I think that is the one quality that we need to have is the ability to connect with people on a human level and build better relationships. So one of the things I teach to my team is to get out of this transactional mindset, you know, and I used to be that way, so I can speak towards it. What is that? Well, you get a customer, you do a transaction, they never hear from you again, right? Or they only hear from you whenever in your CRM it says, hey, call such and such, or send them this letter, or do the, and that's a good thing, by the way, that alert comes.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is why aren't you making a real effort to have a connection instead of just checking the box?
Like go out for coffee or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's another person.
Let's get to know one another. Let's actually see if we can vibe. So today, you can ask any of my clients, you become a client of mine. Look, I'm gonna know your children. I'm gonna know your birthday. You're not getting rid of me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Unless you tell me I don't care to hang with you, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
But most folks are like, yeah, why not? I wanna have a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's huge. So going back to the beginning of your career, what would you say is one of those big breakthrough moments that you had that you thought, all right, I can do this?
There were many. There were many. And I think about it in stages because I do think this business is done on stages. Here's what I mean by that. When you start out in the business, you don't have a clue about how to do it. You can get taught all of the things in training about this and doing that and all of these various things, but you really don't have a clue yet. But the first stage for me was recognizing that I could actually procure new customers and that people would actually like me enough to want to do business with me. And I would say that happened relatively within the first year of being in business. Now, what I had to learn to do was to do that more often, right? It's one thing to be able to bring in customers occasionally, but to be able to bring in customers continuously,
Mm-hmm.
that's a different level,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
So I had to get to that level, and that took a little time. Once I got to that level, now it was about, well, what sort of insight, like real insight, do I have about the business that I can share with a client? Essentially, what I'm saying is, what makes me different from this guy over here? And that took time, really understanding the market, really understanding the concept of supply and demand, understanding what sort of market are we in, and how long homes sit on the market when you're in a particular type of market.
Mm-hmm.
Little nuances that you learn as you practice the business. And so that was a stage. And I'll probably forget, what time periods these all happened in, Ethan. But hopefully, I'm giving you some sort of sense
Yeah.
of
Oh, yeah.
of how growth happens, because I don't think it's never a story where you're from here to then there and then it's all over, right? But that was a level, and then it took time for me to understand how how do I really want to scale the business? Or better said, is it about scaling or is it about going deep? And there's a big difference between the two. I did want to scale at one time, and I wanted to scale really big. So
How?
scale with agents, scale with support staff. And I got really big at one point. And really big at that time for me was 25 agents.
That is pretty big.
So I got up to 25 agents. I had support staff, all of that stuff. For most people, or when agents hear you say that, they think to themselves, wow, that's pretty good, man. You're killing it. You're crushing it. You know what I mean? That's sweet. And behind closed doors, I didn't like it. The reason I didn't like it was because I had all of these people, but we did not have all of the success we should have had with that number of people. And so I got to thinking that, it's not really about having a lot of people. It's about having the right people. And having the right people means that you actually got to shrink down some and fine tune it to just a few strong partners, people who care, people who want to be there, people who care about the craft. And once I figured that out, then I said, you know what, Steve, it's not about scaling from that particular standpoint. It's about going deep in the relationships that you have with your current partners. Call the agents that are part of my team, we're partners. They don't work for me. We're partners. And it's about that. And then it's about us really leaning into our clients, leaning into our craft so that we can actually build something really special together.
Yeah. How long in the business were you involved before you started bringing agents on?
Started in 2010. I had my first agent. And she was my agent and she was my assistant. Okay. So she was kind of both.
Yeah.
So that 2013, I think, 2014 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you doing all sellers and buyers at the time? Were you working one or the other?
No, both.
Okay.
Both sellers and buyers.
Okay.
So we've always had a combination of both. And we've always, for the most part, been 60% buyers, about 40% sellers. Yeah.
That's been your whole career?
Just about my entire career.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
Just about my entire career. Well, actually, that's not true. So we actually started off really high with buyers, probably 80-20.
Oh, wow.
So 80 buyers, 20% sellers. And it wasn't that I wasn't making an effort to get more sellers, but it kind of goes back to the relationship piece. You can spend a lot of time doing cold calls and those sorts of tactical approaches. And we've done that, by the way. We used to make 1,000 calls a day. And we got listings that way.
Mm-hmm.
But here go, going back to the relationship part, we lacked the relationship with people. And so even for those contracts that we got, those listings that we got, they weren't fun.
Yeah.
You
didn't know them.
You didn't know them. They didn't know you.
Yeah.
It wasn't a fun way to do business. Yeah. And so, usually we would have some sort of short-term agreement because we're trying to see if we can earn your trust, right? And they're like, okay, I'll give you 60 days, and a few years ago, 60 days was nothing for a listing agreement, right? And we're starting to kind of get back to that.
Right.
But it was all about trying to get better at building relationships.
Yeah. Did you ever work for a team?
No.
No, so you went right into independent and then started chugging along.
Yeah, I've always been an independent agent, and then I built a team.
Who do you think teams are made for?
Say your question a little bit. Expand on your question a little more.
A new agent comes in. Do you think they immediately need to join a team? Or do you think they can find success without jumping onto a team?
They can totally find success without jumping on the team.
But the team itself do you think it should be aimed for just new agents? You learn a little, then you leave and do your own thing, or because I know you have people that have been on your team for a very long time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they don't seem like they want to leave because you've created a great team. So are teams more designed to bring agents in and then stay, or are they designed to help agents grow and then leave?
I can only speak for my team. I hope to create a culture where it encourages people to stay. And the reason for that is I don't want to build a business where it's a pit stop for someone.
Yeah.
You know, I I want it to be a situation where you've come and joined the team, but we believe that we could help one another, that we're in this together and that we're growing each other together. So ideally, in my mind, I think that is an ideal approach to a team. For the new agent who is trying to figure it out, trying to build a book of business for themselves, in many cases, a team can be of great value to them.
Mm-hmm.
For, if the team gives them leads or, training them how to do the business better, having mentorship in place, those sorts of things that could perhaps be really valuable. But on the flip side of that coin, I will also say there are agents who definitely have the ability to get out there and just create something from the ground up by themselves.
Yeah. So I joined the business in 2018. I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
And I spent 2 years independent. Didn't really make a ton of sales, but I was even I've always been a driven guy. Then I joined, Morgan Womble.
Yep.
Joined his team. And what I learned from them was not how to have more drive or anything like that. Like I had it. It was more, how do I find the pain pinpoints of my clients and help fix those pinpoints, right? So like Morgan taught me like how to be, like you were talking about, be empathetic into these people's situations. It's not a transaction. This is their livelihood, right? They're buying a house so their family can grow, or their family has grown up and now they're gone and they're not happy about it. They don't want to sell their house and move to a smaller house, but they have to.
Yep.
So how do you empathize?
Empathize. That's right. That's right.
How do you empathize with that? And then along with that, right, like just how to talk to people like a normal person on the phone, not treating them like a used car salesman and, just going after that dollar sign. But how do you pick up the phone and talk to them like human beings? And so when I joined, Morgan's team, I spent a year with them. And when I left them, my career went skyrocketed. Right?
Yeah.
And I credit, all that to Morgan and
sure
how he taught me. And that was 4 years ago or something like that. But yeah, I think for somebody like me, I thought the team was the best thing that could have happened.
Yeah.
And at the time, I think it also depends. Obviously, there's splits and all that stuff. And so I was living at home, so I didn't need the money. The money was not really a factor for me. Like I didn't need a high split or anything like that. It was just, how can I learn how to be the best real estate agent and then go off and do my thing.
Absolutely.
And grind on it. But
absolutely.
I definitely never try to discourage people from joining teams, but I can see what you're saying and I think too, if you're somebody and you're 40 and you've already lived a lot of life, you've started businesses or you've worked at a big business for a while, you kind of already got a grasp on how things work, how business should be grown and how business should be done. An 18-year-old kid who doesn't even know what a credit score is, let's get you on a team and
sure
and learn some things.
Sure.
I was reading online that you've been a broker to some of the biggest land acquisitions in the state. Tell me about those.
Land is one of the funnest parts of the business for me.
Yeah.
The reason why, I do. I love the land business, because yes, they are really big acquisitions, big sales, I should say. But even more so, you have to be able to really grasp a lot of different areas of the real estate business, of real estate, to include you even get into politics, because a lot of these deals literally hinge on whether or not the town or the city is going to approve a
Mm,
development. And so you have to be able to build relationships. There's that word again. Build relationships with, people on city council and, the board of commissioners and, the planning director and, the planning committee. And you have to have a relationship with the landowners, and you have to build relationships with the developers, the major builders and their representatives. But then it's all about trying to figure out, well, can this particular development work here? Is this going to be something that can work? And it's like, wow, you're the person who's helping to try to put this puzzle together. So it really requires an agent to use a different side of their brain that they haven't had to use before,
mm,
and to really develop to the point where you can explain to a landowner, if you're representing that landowner, that this is the kind of money that you can make, but this is the process that we're going to have to go through. And you have to be able to really explain it.
yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Do you think I've seen agents that are, hey, I only sell land, I only sell houses, I
Yep.
only do rental properties, and I only do commercial. Those are kind of like our four divisions.
Sure.
What do you think about agents being all in one?
Hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, really hard to do. Even in the land business, as an example, there's different types of land sales.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't do everything.
Yeah.
Or your expertise will get diluted because you're trying to specialize in too many things.
Yeah.
The only part of land that I am focused on, as an example, is land that can be developed. So I don't do farmland. I don't do, forest land. I don't do land where there can be, I don't know, solar panels,
Right.
Put out and, and leased and all of those things.
Because you don't have the knowledge.
I don't have the knowledge. I don't play in that space,
Yeah. Yeah.
but those are there's so many different sectors. So what I do is focus on the residential market and land for development. And the reason it's land for development because it works hand in hand with the residential business.
Yeah. So when you go into a big listing appointment like that, hey, we got, I don't know how big these deals you have, but let's say we got 500 acres that we need to sell or whatever it is. Hey, this is going to be a $20 million sale. What's your mindset going into these listing appointments?
Well, I want to know first, how many landowners are we talking about here? Because you're talking about landowners generally where land has been passed down
Mm-hmm.
to the family over years. And you have a lot of different heirs involved. And so you have a lot of different people that you have to be able to communicate with. So that's first and foremost. But secondly, we need to understand do we know what's going on with the land from an environmental standpoint? How much of this is wetland? How much is actually buildable? How much, do we have any concerns about whether or not the state has stated that because of this, this reservoir here that you're not going to be able to build on, but 8 acres of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different components to it. So we try to figure that part out then. Now, the next piece is, well, can we actually get, a developer interested in this piece here? And if so, what can go there? And sometimes, some landowners actually want to go through the entitlement process and have something to pass along to the developer. Most landowners don't have the resource to do that. So it's just about selling it.
Right.
And then the developer goes and takes it on from there. But there's so many variables, Ethan. And I'm just trying to give you a quick highlight for your audience. But hopefully that that proves the
Yeah.
point.
Well, for me too. I actually just had my biggest land listing appointment last week.
Oh, nice.
Well, like you said, it's one of those things. Grandmother passed away, 6 cousins inherited it.
Yeah.
And so now I'm trying to work with all 6. And I have one main point of contact, though, which is tough. Like
Okay.
I can't get in front of all of them.
Okay.
So I gave my pitch. She was like, I would sign this today if I could, but I got to get all 6 people on board. So she texts me the other day and says, hey, so we got 3 yeses and 3 I don't know yet. We want to interview other agents too.
Okay.
We want multiple agents to be interviewed. I said, great, absolutely. You should get as many professionals, to look at it as you can. So hopefully by the time this airs, I'll have the listing.
Yeah.
But I should be hearing back from it today or tomorrow. But yeah, I was just curious because I've done land deals, but small, like 8 acres here.
That's right.
2 acres here,
That's right.
So this is a 150 acre tract.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I was just interested to hear your take on land, and it would be a development. And how do you market to developers?
A lot of it is picking up the phone, making a phone call. So, and the developers that I'm talking about are generally national home builders or big regional players.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just pick up the phone and, I'm going to harp on relationships because that means so much, especially also in that space.
Yeah.
If I pick up the phone and I call somebody, they know I have a deal to share with them. You know what I'm saying? They know me. We've done a deal before, and they know that it's not going to be some deal that, don't waste my time with this.
Yeah.
This is something that we could actually chew on.
Yeah.
So it's not usually a situation where you put it in an MLS and then, see how many buyers you can get.
Yeah.
Although I'm not saying it's not some of that at times. But a lot of times it's literally picking up the phone and saying, hey, I got this available.
Mm-hmm.
Are you interested?
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to give such and such a call too. So I'm trying to give you the first dibs. But if I don't hear from you by Friday, I'm going to give somebody else a call too.
Yeah. Part of my pitch was like I had 30 developers somewhere in that area, and then some that I was reading about them online that wanted to break into that area. It's in Harnett County. And so I have, these list of, I think it was like 25 or 30 developers that I was like, I'm going to, here's their point of contact. Here's who I'm going to call for interest. And, I think as far as the other agents that they have interviewed before that, they were like, yeah, they're just, hey, here's what we'll list it for. Here's what we'll put it on the MLS for. Mm-hmm. But you're talking about these relationships with developers. How do I, and whoever's listening, break into that without having those connections, right? I don't have connections with developers. Mm-hmm. So if I call a developer, they're going to say, first of all, who are you? Right? And hopefully this will be the first of many calls that they'll get from me from other land deals. But how do I break into that and call them and say, hey, here's what I got for you, and you can trust me?
Mm-hmm. I get this question a lot. And the only reason I pause is because I want to answer it the best way that I can. Ethan, so much of what we are asked about when it comes to, luxury real estate or, luxury real estate clients or big land, clients and developers, it has to do with, well, give me the ABCs on what to do and I'll do that. And then, that should get me there. And it just doesn't work that way, man. It goes back to caring enough about that lane that you can become that. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's one thing to know the steps, get the guide.
Yep.
And then it's a completely different perspective to just say, okay, this is who I am. This is what I'm going to be. And so therefore, I'm going to put myself in as many places as I can in order to be able to cultivate those relationships. So what I would say is, if you want those relationships, you've got to build relationships with land acquisition managers. That's going to be important.
Mm.
All of these major companies have people who are, and they have areas, territories that they focus on. And you want to build those relationships with those people. Now, it's one thing to just have a cup of coffee. It's another thing entirely to say, I'm going to have a cup of coffee and then I'm going to bring you a deal, and I'm going to look and scour the market for what I'm going to actually spend real time doing it. And then I'm actually going to spend time meeting those landowners, shaking their hands. If I don't have a direct relationship with a major landowner, then you got to figure out how to get one. How do I do that, Steve? You got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? But if I've learned anything about human nature, is that if you care enough about figuring something out, you will figure it out.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So I can't tell you exactly what to do in order to get every single relationship. You, as the agent, have to be willing to put yourself in as many positions as possible to build relationships.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's going to cost you money. Sometimes it's going to cost you more time than you thought. But you're the one that said you wanted to sign up for it. No one else told you to. You decided that. So if you decide that that's what you want to do, that's who you want to be, then you got to be that.
Yeah. Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about your sports and entertainment career. Your selling of sports and entertainment. How'd you get involved with that? What is that? How'd you get involved? All that good stuff.
It's funny, man, because I didn't even, when I first started doing sports and entertainment business, I didn't think of it as that. And my first pro athlete was, 2012.
Okay.
And I've had, many over the years, but I didn't think about it as that. When Compass came into our market in 2021, we were one of the first teams that came over to Compass. And it was probably a year or so later that I realized that we had a sports and entertainment division.
Okay.
And I said, okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I come from that world. That's, I know a lot of people in, the sports and entertainment space. And, how do I become part of this? And so, I went to my sales manager and I asked about it and she said, oh yeah, totally. That's totally you, Steve. And so when the invite came out, I applied, and there's a long process with Compass in order to get into sports and entertainment division. And there's a lot of people that want to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, was able to get through it, and, such a wonderful community of people. But when I started doing that business, Ethan, I didn't, it wasn't sexy to me, but now I think it seems like it's a sexy.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Is that the way you view it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What makes it so sexy to you?
Celebrities and athletes, man. Yeah, you just like, I'm going across the country helping celebrities and athletes find houses. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Well,
especially, celebrities for me, not so much. I don't really care about it, but like to meet these pro athletes that I've looked up to my whole life, and like to shake hands with them and walk through a door with them and say, this could be yours. Here's, and buy them on that.
I got it.
That sounds, I don't know about sexy. It's a cool niche of
gotcha.
the market.
Yeah. I see. Okay. I do spend a lot of time on a plane,
mm-hmm.
and so I travel a lot. And, what I try my very best to do is part of the year, I try to get my traveling in and go and, meet the people I need to meet and all of those things. But inevitably, I always got to get on a plane for another meeting or something of that sort. And in that business, that is what's required. Again, it kind of goes back, it does go back to caring.
Mm-hmm.
You have to care enough to do it. And for most people, they would say, Well, that sounds cool. I would love to do that. But trust me, when you've gotten on a plane and stayed in hotels, I don't care how nice the hotel is. Eventually it kind of gets old. You're like, okay, I've been on in all the hotels and I've been on a plane a lot. But at the same point in time, I genuinely care. I genuinely care about the athlete and what's next for him. And I end up getting to know his family really well. I get to know his mom really well, his father, his wife, you know, so many different people that are connected to that athlete, and we build a real relationship. And so coming from that world, because I was a guy, especially, growing up like I did, you really have a heart for what they go through and you understand, you get it. Because I think most people tend to say, well, they're making millions and all of this, it must be. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But they don't realize how much work goes into what those guys do, those men and women.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are working all year round, putting their bodies on the line, especially in football, you know, and that plays a toll on people.
Yeah.
Puts a huge toll on people. So I do love it. I do enjoy it a lot, and I enjoy being able to, call many of them friends.
Yeah. Do you go into those meetings any different than you would somebody here in Raleigh? Somebody calls you up and says, I want to buy a house. Is that any different with a pro athlete than it is just a everyday guy?
Not from the standpoint of my approach.
Yeah.
But in terms of how we're going to go about transacting, that tends to be a little bit different. There are other people that are involved. So there might be a business manager who needs to know, a financial advisor who needs to know, and, a sports agent, so there are people. The athlete is a business by themselves. They are a corporation, so to speak. And then they have all of these people who work for them in different capacities. And so I have to recognize, all right, who do I need to, speak to in reference to this or that, or, if we're doing a loan or if we're doing cash, whatever we're doing, there's other people involved.
Is there anything about having to be more private? Are these more private matters?
Yeah, good question. Definitely. It is. Privacy is of great importance. And that so recently, a year or so ago, I think, the head coach for the Detroit Lions, not this past year, but the year before, they had lost in the playoffs. The coach's name leaked, or his house address leaked. And there were people showing up at his house, harassing him, death threats, the whole nine. He sold his house. He had to sell his house and move somewhere else. But he didn't have, for whatever reason, as I understand it, he didn't have his home in, some sort of LLC or, trust or something that could shield his identity.
That would suck.
It would suck.
Yeah.
The normal person, you think, you don't even think about it.
You're right.
But for these guys,
nobody cares where Ethan Lyons lives. You know what I'm saying?
That's not true. That's not true. Your parents care.
My parents care, and they know. Right. So they know where I'm at. But yeah, man, that's it. Just from the outside looking in, it seems like a crazy world for sure. And as far as
and to that point of privacy too, also it's about not disclosing to everyone who you work with.
Yeah.
That's really important. These guys are normal people off the field, off the court. They are just people who want to go to work, which is what they do. They go to work, they give their time, and then they want to go home. But they don't want you like, oh, take a picture with me so I can post it to Instagram. Right. Oh, guess who I'm working with? Who wants that, man? No one wants that. So anyway.
Yeah, that's such a crazy world. But and I can see where that they're getting that all the time.
Yes,
they don't need that from their professional.
No, Absolutely not.
But yeah, that's crazy. So, you mentor a lot of agents. I mean, I'm sure you do it a part of your team, but also just new agents in the office or any agent that talks to you. What do you think most agents are getting wrong in the business?
From the very beginning, they're not spending enough time building out their network. And their network consists of a couple of different people. We're used to talking about the sphere of influence, and that's part of your network, right? People who already like you, know you, and trust you.
Mm-hmm.
But what we get wrong is we tend to view the other agent as competition.
Mm,
And they don't build relationships with other agents. Like, that's a huge miss.
yeah,
Why not?
yeah.
Other agents are consumer facing. Other agents are going to have people that are relocating from Raleigh to New York City to Jupiter, Florida, to Houston, Texas, wherever it may be. Why don't you know the agents there?
Yeah.
Why are you so much in your bubble where you're like, oh, I don't need them. They're my competitor. Even agents within your own market. I don't view any agent in my market as a competitor.
Mm-hmm.
We all have our different client groups that we serve.
100%.
So I'm not worried about whether or not I'm going to get business or you're going to take business from me. I need to have a relationship with you. But that's a huge miss, is my point.
Yeah.
Agents don't build relationships with other agents.
Yeah.
Then also you have the adjacent industries like wealth professionals, wealth advisors, I should say, estate planners, insurance agents, lenders, divorce attorneys. There are other professionals who literally will have customers for you if you had a relationship with them. Such a huge part of the sports and entertainment world is the real estate agent having a relationship with sports agents, wealth advisors, business managers. A lot of times you don't have the relationship starting out with the athlete. You have relationships with these adjacent professionals, right? And that makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. I'm in my 40s, all right? Most of these guys, they're in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
At what point are we typically going to cross paths in life?
Right.
You understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So that's another big miss that we have are the relationships with agents, the relationships with the adjacent professionals.
Yeah. I don't know why people look at it as such a competition, though, because somebody's going to want to work with Steve, and they're going to say, I don't like Ethan, I want to work with Steve. Or somebody's going to say, I don't like Steve, but I like Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But somebody's going to say, I don't like Ethan or Steve, I like Morgan, and so, there's no two agents that are the same. And so if you see it as, hey, we're all very different, even if we're similar, we're very different in our relationship, where we live, how we talk, what we do. Somebody's going to want to work with you and not somebody else who might be better or,
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I think the real estate, and you've been in it longer than I have, but do you feel, and I feel like it is, the culture of real estate has changed to where agents are being more collaborative than they used to be?
I think inside of Compass, the culture is already that way.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about the Compass culture, that's who we are.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that in the firm that I was a part of, it wasn't that way. There was not usually a collaborative sort of environment. Occasionally you might have one or two people within your office that you can go to and you guys would do something together. But I still think there's a lot of people who believe that we're in competition with one another.
Yeah.
And I don't need to have a relationship with you.
Yeah.
For what?
Right.
Yeah.
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 Which, I mean, that's one big reason I liked Compass. At my previous brokerage, I would walk into somebody's office who was top seller of the office or whatever, top producer. And they look at me like, what are you doing here, man? You don't belong in my office. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I could walk into Steve's office and you're like, hey man, come on in, let's talk. Let me help you with the podcast and kind of show you what, you should and shouldn't do. And that whole culture that, that has been set up here has been awesome. But I have been, in Harnett County, I'm, as far as I know, one of the only Compass agents in the county.
Okay.
And
That's good.
yeah, so that's why, that's kind of why I drive up here is like you said, like to build relationships with people here. You might not want to drive to Harnett County and have a showing in Lillington.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to help out your client. But the agents down there are very collaborative.
Okay, good.
Yeah, for the most part. Obviously, you have your one or two people that are,
Sure.
no, we don't do that. But because we're in that weird market between Raleigh and Fayetteville, and we're kind of just in our own little standalone market, I feel like we all kind of have the understanding of, hey, we're all down here together.
Yeah.
Let's link up together. I don't care that you're with Keller Williams or EXP or whatever. It's just we're in this no man's land right now, and let's figure out how to be the best for the people in Harnett County. So it's been, I think that's why my view of the collaboration might be a little different, just because where I live down there, we're much more,
Yeah.
connected.
Yeah. I think that's outstanding. That's good.
But so what's kind of on the horizon for you and your team? How many agents do you have on your team?
We are 10 agents.
Okay.
Yep.
How long have you guys been at 10? Is that your goal? Is that where you want to stay, you feel?
Yeah, I think, we will always entertain good relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't want to put a number on it.
Yeah.
But what I will say is this group that we have together is like everybody care.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like everybody want to see the other person succeed. And they're genuinely doing all that they can to help the other, team member to be successful. So that I like.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to continue to cultivate. That's what we want to continue to see take place.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if we can really do a good job with that, doing more business is never going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But it's how we do business.
Yeah.
Is what's going to be important.
Your culture, are you guys all in the office together every day? Like, do you say, hey, everybody's got to be in here from 9 to 5 or whatever?
No, I don't think that's practical.
Yeah.
I think, some agents actually do like working from home, and that's quite all right with me. I do like to bring the agents into the office occasionally. And so sometimes we'll have team meetings inside the office, and sometimes we'll do it online. This week, as an example, we got a beach trip planned, and, we have different events that we do, different lunch outings we do, different, which are also opportunities to meet, but also just a time to just be together and hang out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just relax and talk and find out what's going on in each other's world. But no, I don't have that requirement. The only requirement that I have is that we show up and we give our best. That's what I care about.
Yeah.
I want to see that the agents on the team are giving their all to their craft. And if we're doing that, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your wife's name again?
Tammy.
Tammy?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how's she been with obviously she started when you didn't have the business to now. So what's the relationship look like with her since?
My wife is great, man. Thank you for asking. Tammy has always been the support that I've needed. She's been the person who has proved, how do I want to say this? She has, in many cases, encouraged me that I can do something that I wasn't always certain that I could do. And going home to someone like that is huge in this business, because you have moments. It's kind of like being an athlete where you have a bad day or a bad week or a bad month. And you go home and you're like, ah, I don't know, babe, And my wife would do a good job of snapping me back into it and like, no, brother, we got this. You got this. So she's always been really good at that. But what I've also appreciated is that when we didn't have anything, she's always been, she's always believed, she's always had faith. And there's a lot to be said about that, man. Those are the sorts of ideals that aren't tangible.
Yeah.
You can't measure it, but it's there and it matters a lot. And so I've appreciated my wife greatly. And yeah, she still ride it with me up to this day.
Yeah. Does she help you with the business at all? Has she?
No. What? No, that woman could never. Tammy, now, as much as she loves me and as much as she's a support, she's very impatient.
I got you.
She is not the kind of person who is going to, if she was an agent or even if she was helping with paperwork, I don't know. Nah, that's not her. She would throw the book at me, or she would take somebody out to see a house and like, you gonna buy this house or ain't you? I was like, baby, we can't talk to people like that.
That's right.
So
that's awesome. Yeah, man. Yeah, my wife, man, same thing. Like, she doesn't help with the business or anything, but when I come home or I say I got this listing appointment coming up, I don't know, I'm kind of nervous. Mm-hmm. And she's just like, what are you nervous about? You're you. You're going to kill it, So to have somebody like that by your side, can't replace it.
Big time.
Big time.
Big time.
So what's next for your team?
What's next? We just got our head down, Ethan.
Yeah.
That's it. We got our head down, man. We don't make too many plans into the future. We have an idea of where we want to go, but it's really about nailing the present, getting the present right. And so I try not to live too far into the future. So at the moment, we're just focused on continuing to lean into our customers, making sure that they know that we care about them, continuing to build and cultivate the relationships with other agents and, wealth advisors and people who we know can open a door for us to future business, and we could do the same for them.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just focused on doing that, man. So we keep it real simple.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. What'd you think of the coffee?
Good. So, this is like the Charleston coffee that I've had, or similar, I should say. It's not, what would you say? It's not like a full-bodied sort of experience. More of a medium roast.
Yeah, it's definitely a medium, but it's like a richer kind of flavor. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like this deep, strong flavor.
Yeah,
but it's there.
It's a note of chocolate, dark chocolate.
Yes,
I do taste that.
I'm trying to see if they have what the. Oh yeah, here it is. It's a medium roast. I don't know, coffee people, if you're listening to this, I'll pronounce it is it cocoa?
Okay.
Nibs, cocoa nibs, semi-sweet chocolate.
Okay.
So yes, okay. I don't know what cocoa nibs is, or if it's cocoa nibs. I don't know how to pronounce it. But I definitely can taste the chocolate. So on a scale of 1 to 10, that is the greatest cup of coffee you ever had, or the worst cup of coffee you ever had. What would you rate it?
I'll give it a 9.
A 9?
I'll give it a 9.
Decent high.
Yep, I'll give it a 9. The only reason why I can't give it a 10 is because, look, we have a coffee shop right across the street from our office.
Yeah.
And it's spectacular. I won't say the name on the show because you're promoting this one, and I want to be respectful of that. But it's good.
It is good.
Yeah.
That's okay. We'll highlight that one too. We might try to have them on, get them, but it's Quarter Note Coffee in Raleigh. Very good. And the people in there, some nicest people in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got to try to get some of their coffee on the show for next time. But yeah, I would probably say 8.5
Okay,
for me.
that's pretty high.
Yeah. I don't want to ever go too high the reviews because I don't know what the limit is yet. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But we had one last week, I think, with an agent. Her name was Brandy, and it was a Charlotte coffee. I can't remember the name of it. So listen to the last episode if you want to know. But it was very good.
Yeah.
It was like spectacular. But this one was on par. When I'm drinking it, I was thinking this one might be the best one I've had on the show. But I don't know. But if you are in downtown Raleigh,
yep,
go to Sir Walter. It is really.
Oh, I'm going to make a stop.
Yeah, and they do. They have some baked goods and stuff, but it's a super cool vibe in there. And I think they do maybe at night. They might do like have a bar scene. I don't know. I've not been there at night, but I do know they have like a cocktail list. And I'm sure you're not getting a cocktail at 8 a.m.
Yep.
Maybe you are. Maybe you're just that tough. I don't know. It ain't for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good place. So if you're in downtown Raleigh, check out Sir Walter Coffee. Where can people find you, man?
Yeah, you can find me, my website, stevegunter.com. I am more of a Substack guy. So I'm at stevegunter.substack.com.
Okay.
So, but you can also find me on Instagram. I just don't really go in there very much and check messages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What about your podcast?
Oh, so my podcast is called the Strong Life Podcast, and we got a few episodes out there, having fun with it. So yeah, man.
This is season 2?
Season 2.
Yep. How's it been going?
Fun.
Yeah. I've been loving listening to it.
Appreciate you.
Yeah,
appreciate that. And we've had people calling in, asking questions, and then I answer those questions on the pod.
Yeah. So if you got a question,
please
call in. How do people call in with a question?
Go to stronglifepodcast.com and they can leave a voice message and we'll feature it on an upcoming episode.
I love it. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Steve. This was great having you, learning from you, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Appreciate it, my man.
All right, man. Bye, everybody.